Sorry to make it look like I was miming you guys. I was actually muted on the call. That's my mistake. Welcome to the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. My name is Juan Pablo Gordon Camargo, and I am joined in a video call filled with experts. I got Avery Collins to my, I'm gonna say my left because it's an inverted camera that I gotta give it. On the bottom below me is Darius Riddick, and on the horizontal, vertical, diagonal, I don't know my directional side, and Mr. Darren. What's up, guys?
What's good, man? What's good? Big trust forever, you know. Woo.
Shout out to Tyler Lockett for helping me win my fantasy game. 60 points. That's what I like to see. Shout out
guys, as much as I like to talk about how I'm still ranked number 2 in the standings right now in our Inside the Hashes thing, while Darius is number 1, which congratulations to Darius for hitting the top rank. I would like to actually make a comment how Drake's coming out with a new album later this week, you guys. And, I really don't know how to feel about the hype up about it because a couple of Drake's last projects haven't exactly really been wow for me. But then again, I'm not an avid Drake listener. My taste in music is more on the J. Cole side of things. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think about Drake dropping an album this week? Is it finally something refreshing for the quarantine, or is it just fodder?
I think that it's going to be a typical Drake album where it's a lot of hot tracks, but not necessarily a phenomenal album. I'm hoping that it's going to be a phenomenal album. I mean, we haven't had one that has kind of blown me away since Nothing Was the Same. That was, in my opinion, that's my favorite album. I think his best body of work is Take Care, but my favorite album is Nothing Was the Same. But I mean, I will say that Scorpion was pretty good. I would say that's probably number 2 as far as body of work, maybe 3 as far as body of work. But it's still, he hasn't blown me away in a couple albums. So I'm assuming that he won't do it this time as well. I think it's gonna be a lot of hot tracks. Drake is trendy, and he knows he is. He's found a niche right now, and he's marketing and capitalizing off of it.
There is. I know you were hyped up when I went all J. Cole. Like, what's up, man?
Cole World, maybe Dreamville. Nah, J. Cole is definitely my favorite artist of all time. But as far as Drake,
whoa.
I don't know, man. Drake to me,
he said it all the time. You heard that.
I just feel like with Drake lately, it's just been, I feel like he's not trying as far as music. Like, we know Drake is one of the greatest artists of all time. He had hits in the early 2010s. This man was on the radio. He was a music video. He was on everything. But like Avery said, I feel like he hasn't had an album that really has been that successful that blows you away. Like, my favorite Drake album was Take Care because I felt like that was his best body of work in my opinion. And then you can add Nothing Was the Same. He even said it, Nothing Was the Same is his favorite album. But I just feel like Take Care is just a certified classic just because of that was his second album, I believe. And he really transcended. At that point, that's when he started to become, I feel like, the Drake that he was, early in his career. But I feel like it's just going to be another album where, like Avery said, man, hits, and then it's nothing really spectacular in my opinion. So
I'll end the conversation with this as a question for Darren. Darren, you shaking your head about him being about Cole being Darius' favorite artist.
What's wrong with that?
And not liking the whole Drake album dropping. I'm guessing you're more of a Kendrick Lamar kind of guy.
No, I'm a Drake fan. I don't know what y'all talking about with all this going on. I'm all the way back to the replacement girl Drake. When he first came out the grass.
Don't get me wrong. Drake is.
I'm sorry.
Drake is fire, and I'm a fan.
But this is my thing. You have to understand when it comes to Drake, he drops fire every time. It's not really like a whole bunch of songs that's not that hot off of his albums. Every single time he had multiple.
And that's the point. That's the point. It's a lot of hot songs, but as far as a compilation of work, as far as an album, he's not going to do a album. He doesn't have. I'm not saying he doesn't have it. I'm saying he's not going to do it because that's not his brand. So he's not going to tell a story throughout an album like Kendrick did with ending with Duckworth. Like And then
But y'all making it sound like
All right.
now.
I'm clutching the argument now because honestly, this isn't the
You know what?
podcast. At the Hashes Air It Out podcast. And with that being said, we are rolling into the rundown for today's show.
Listen,
First,
I'm ready for all the punches.
rundown. Oh my God. No. Put that down, Avery. Put that down. First thing on the rundown, I'm just gonna quickly go over who won player of the month status for October. Drake can't make hits. He can't put an album together. Chris Thomas coming in.
We gotta talk, Chris.
Thank you.
We gotta talk, Chris.
Guys. Look, first thing on the rundown today, Tom Brady actually won player of the month. A 43-year-old quarterback won player of the month in October. He's thrown 12 touchdowns so far this month and no interceptions. I'd say pretty well deserved for the 43-year-old quarterback down in Tampa. Derrick Henry won it for the AFC. Right now, he had in just October alone, he's accumulated 399 scrimmage yards and 34 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns on the ground. He currently leads the NFL in rushing by more than 100 yards with 663. Over on the defensive side of the ball, it's for the AFC. It's Myles Garrett, who has compiled 6 sacks, 14 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles in October. While in the NFC is the safety that everyone loved to cheer for, Cardinals, Buda Baker, getting his first 2 career interceptions this month and in back-to-back weeks against Dallas and against the Seahawks. So good for him. As for the player of the month in terms of rookies, on offense, it's Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, and on defense, it is Panthers linebacker Jeremy Chin. So congrats to the rookies. Chin is actually going to come up much later in the show as we go along. But moving on to our next piece of news is major injury news. Patriots wideout Julian Edelman has undergone knee surgery and will miss Sunday's game versus Buffalo. The 34-year-old slot receiver has been battling this knee injury all season, and it has shown in terms of his production. I mean, only 21 catches, 315 yards, and no touchdowns, with 179 of those yards coming in one game against the Seahawks in week 2, where he had an 8-catch performance. Then next on the list, we're going to the COVID numbers happening around the NFL, primarily in the number 1 and number 2 media markets in the country, Los Angeles and New York. With the Giants and the Chargers are experiencing some major COVID setbacks. New York has placed star guard Will Hernandez on the COVID reserve list and has sent multiple coaches and offensive linemen home because they interacted with Hernandez, so close contact gets shipped out of the facility. As for the Chargers, they are now conducting virtual meetings after they had a player test positive in their facility. And to make matters worse, the positive test comes along as several LA Chargers staffers and players, including rookie quarterback Justin Herbert, were among the thousands of people evacuated from their homes amid the Southern California wildfires that were happening this week. So, bad time for COVID, even worse during a wildfire season, guys. So we'll break that down in just a bit. And then just to end this whole rundown on a lighter note, if I could provide it, when talking to reporters about their upcoming game against the New York Jets, Chiefs defensive end Chris Jones said that the Jets were, quote, a very good football team, but that people forget that because of their record, which is 0-7. I mean 0-6. I'm already predicting their game this week. So the Jets are one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they might actually be the worst in history. There's a stat that says that their DVOA of this season is negative 43.9, which is much worse than the 08 Lions, who were tagged the worst team in the NFL. The 2020 Jets could go down as the worst team in NFL history. And guys, that concludes the rundown for today. I'm going to throw it over to Avery first on his breakdown of the players of the month. Is there anyone that you thought was fair, unfair? Just quick opinion on it.
I think everybody who got the player of the month was deserving. I just feel like sometimes they should go co-player of the month on certain players and certain positions, because I believe, and I love Jeremy Chin, and I believe he deserves it. I'm not saying he does not deserve it. So everybody please understand, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm saying that I believe that somebody else is as deserving, and that's Antoine Winfield Jr. I think he's been playing lights out since the beginning of the season. I think that he has helped the back end of that Buccaneers defense in a way that a lot of people don't really understand. He's playing extremely, extremely well this year. and I think it's going to be between him and Jeremy Chin currently for Defensive Rookie of the Year. In my opinion, if I was to have a vote right now, it's really between those two guys at this current time. Outside of that, I mean, I really can't see any. I mean, you could honestly, and I get that he threw 3 picks the last time we saw him, but you could make a case that Russell should have been Player of the Month. I mean, you got to remember the guy was undefeated up until last week, and even with that being said, he played extremely well. Up until that game, so you can make a case that he could deserve. He's as deserving as Tom Brady of winning Player of the Month. But other than that, I think that they hit the nail on the head. I think that potentially we're going to see a lot from Chase Edmonds, seeing as how Kenyon Drake is going to be out for a couple of weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if next month he ends up being Player of the Month.
Drake is out for like 3 weeks, so like Edmonds does have a lot to work with in November, but we'll hold off on handing the awards early until November 30th rolls around. In the meantime, Darius, speaking of Tom Brady, the Patriots, Julian Edelman has just been going downhill. Your team is 2-4 on the season, and Edelman might be kind of a representation of what the state of the team there. Injury riddled, missing key playmakers, and playing on basically their last legs. And with Edelman out against the Bills, Cam Newton not having that safety blanket, is it fair to say that the Patriots are on a downward spiral?
I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna say no. Personally, the reason why I'm gonna say no is because I feel like Bill Belichick has something up his sleeve, right? I feel like this is all part of the mastermind plan, right? Like we look at the first 2 weeks how we played. We played against Miami, we won. We played against Seattle, and people have to understand, Cam Newton looked like the old Cam Newton against Seattle, and I get it. Seattle's defense wasn't that great, but the guy almost won the game for us coming back down. But I feel bad for Julian Edelman. This is a guy who we know he's one of the toughest wide receivers in the NFL. Battle plays through injuries and different things like that. So, he's going to be missed. And you look at the receiving core for the Patriots, who do they have? These guys can't get open. This has been the biggest issue since last season. Once we played against the Baltimore Ravens and everything went downhill, these receivers cannot get open. You got a guy like N'Keal Harry, you get a first-round pick. He's not producing like a first-round pick. So I definitely could see. I feel bad for Edelman, but I think this is it, man. I could see Edelman either getting cut or he retires. So it sucks, but Edelman definitely did what he had to do coming in, especially given his circumstances being a.
I have a great second half of the season. I can see it.
Yeah, no.
That's what I'm saying. We could bounce back. It's a potential. That's why I said yes and no. Like, depending on how if we could be
not
Buffalo,
we'll say, look, the Patriots are missing playmakers. That is a given to both the COVID and to injury. And we'll get to how they could, salvage their season in a bit. But right now, I just kind of want to give it to Darren because I know he has something to say about that Chris Jones quote, man. Like, I mean, it's got to be the same attitude I'm carrying. Like, that's a bunch of BS, man.
That was disrespectful right there. He didn't have to do that. I know you're trying to be nice and all, but come on, man. You can't do that. You gotta say what it is.
Yeah.
You gotta be honest. Come on, man.
Chris Jones is right.
As a gentleman,
Jones is right.
Jets aren't bad.
They're a team that's averaging less than 10 points a game offensively and allowing 30 points a game defensively. No.
All right. I got a question for you. No, I got a question for you too, really fast. Name a team that can beat the Jets. No, the Jets can win against right now. Name a team. The Jets can win against right now.
I think there's a couple of teams that the Jets could win a game against because it's any given Sunday. I think they can beat the Broncos. I think they can beat the Cowboys. I think they can beat the Falcons, and I think they can beat the Bengals. I think those are teams that they can beat. Now, will they? I'm not sure. But again, it's any given Sunday, and they are an NFL football team. They've got some talent on that team. And at the end of the day, you cannot overlook who's on your schedule because that's how you end up like the Patriots losing to the Dolphins every year at the end of the season.
you know,
That's different.
I had to get the shot in. I love it. I love
That's
it.
different.
I love it.
Hey, and before you let the inner angry Jets fan in me come out and start tearing people apart and say that we need to tank for Trevor Lawrence, because honestly, that is what this season is the only hope that I'm grasping onto. I'm throwing it over to another angry topic that we have to break down today, which is Antonio Brown signing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, AB is back. I don't know what the counter was for us when it came to how many days it's been since we talked about Antonio Brown, but now it's back to 0. So, Antonio Brown signs a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's joining Tom Brady once again. He played with him back in New England in early 2019. And guys, Tampa Bay is just loading up, just as the Baltimore Ravens were doing, just as the Kansas City Chiefs were doing. They're adding another talent to what is already a pretty stellar team. Arguably, this might be the most balanced team in the NFL. Like this Tampa team ranks first in DVOA at 45%. That is a huge stat. It's at least 8% higher than any other team coming up from behind. They have their defense is ranked 3rd overall. The offense, even though it's ranked 15th, it has been stellar and moving down the field. Tom Brady looks like a rejuvenated version of himself. The weapons have been injured, but they have been consistent. Gronk has come back to the dominant form that he was. He showed it against the Raiders. Even though Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, and Chris Godwin have been injured, they perform when they're on the field. And adding Antonio Brown is just another playmaker and another body that can help Tampa achieve everything that they want to achieve. So I'm just going to throw it over first to Mr. Darren Braxton, because he is part of a fan base whose team has been loading up on weapons, Des Bryant and Yannick Ngakoue especially. So, Darren, I want to ask you first, man, like how scarier does this make Tampa?
If this was a fully healthy Tampa, yeah, that's exactly what people should think. But this is not that fully healthy Tampa team. This is the Tampa team that we see, if they're not running the ball well, they're a little bit suspect when it comes to the offensive line. So you can get to Tom Brady, but he still has enough weapons, like you said, when they're healthy, for it to be very effective for him. So AB going into that mix, we have to make sure of only 2 real things. One, is he the guy that they're saying he is, mature, and he's not going to act like the AB we were seeing for the last year and a half or so? That I'm not sure of. But when he gets on the field, it doesn't really matter where you put him, because the guy can play anywhere on the field when it comes to along the line. But is he going to take away more from Scotty Miller? Is he going to take away more from Chris Godwin? Who's going to get the ball, and will they all work that out?
Well, Chris Godwin has to undergo thumb surgery, so he could be taking a lot of out of outside receiver snaps away from Godwin. But still, like this is still
he's still going to be coming back. So when he comes back, how is that divvy up? How is that going to work? You don't want to lose your younger talent for a guy that's still a little bit older.
Arian is just going to enjoy answering. Honestly, you have too many playmakers. What are you going to do with them? And with that, I'm going to throw it down to Darius, whose team is lacking in playmakers. You had Antonio Brown. Your team had Antonio Brown last year. He did pretty decently in that one game with Tom Brady. Like, is that a true, genuine connection? Does Antonio Brown owe Tom Brady for his return to the NFL?
I'm gonna go. No, I think it's just more of Antonio. I think it's just more of Tom Brady realizing that, hey, I know what I have, right? I got Chris Godwin, who's gonna be out. He hasn't really played that much this season, right? Mike Evans has been banged up. I don't want it to be another situation like New England where I have a group of, I don't really have that much talent around me. So why not get a guy who we know when Antonio Brown's on the field, what he can do as a playmaker? Like let's look at the bigger picture, right? Let's take the off the field issues and look at what he can do on the field, right? He's performing well on the field, but the off the field issues, if he matures like Bruce Arians says, this is a really, really big steal for this team. So, hold on.
With that being said, it's a major steal, but you said it right on the head there is that, Antonio Brown does come with a massive amount of baggage. He's still in a legal battle when it came to a sexual assault charge that was brought up against him. And we don't really know exactly what the extent of those charges have been yet. With that, I'm going to throw it over to Avery to ask him, Avery, you have a great judgment when it comes to judging moral character of players and their attitudes, not just on the field but off the field. How are you liking this move? Not just from a professional standpoint, but from a moral standpoint.
I think from a professional standpoint, it makes sense. I feel like when you got a talent like Antonio Brown, you have a chance to bring him in. You kind of got to take that chance when it comes to a quote unquote mental aspect. If you have a strong team around him, it's a possibility they can galvanize around him, help him out, as we saw this offseason that Deion Sanders did. Deion Sanders kind of took him under his wing and was coaching him through some of the things that he was going through mentally and spiritually. So I think from a professional standpoint, it makes sense. From a legal standpoint, obviously, you pointed out we're not sure exactly what's going to happen with his legal situation. So everybody's getting so hyped up about the situation, but week 10 or 11, the hammer could come down and he might get convicted or something like that. And then what? Does the team discipline him? Does the league discipline him? Does the judicial system, do they discipline him? So there's so many things that can go wrong. But I think that at the end of the day, again, like I said, with a talent like Antonio Brown, if you have the opportunity to bring him in and he's going to be a good guy in the locker room, then you definitely want to do that. And then you got a guy who just wants to win, obviously, right? He's one of those type of guys. I just want to win. And I think he understands that Tom Brady kind of gives him the best chance to do that right now. Outside of, let's say a Patrick Mahomes or something like that. But, the way that the NFC South is going, it looks like the Tampa Bay Bucs are going to run away with the division and potentially have a chance at the number 1 seed in the NFC overall. So I'm not mad at it.
And, it's kind of just a story of what the season has become. Major playoff teams tooling up to try to make a deep playoff run. We've seen it across the league happen, while teams that are losing are cutting off the dead weight and just trading away any assets to try to assure a better future for them, which brings us to our next topic of the day, which is the trade block, man. This week is the NFL trade deadline, and there are huge names that are coming up, including one of the big ones, Carlos Dunlap, who got Evans, Godwin, Scotty Miller, AB Gronk fully healthy. That's a stacked deck to ask for any defense to game plan against. You're right, Chris Thomas, it is. And you know what? It's a bevy of riches, and teams are and big teams, successful teams are doing that, which brings us again to our topic about trading deadline this week. The first major trade being that Carlos Dunlap got traded out from the Bengals to the Seahawks, who are in desperate need of a pass rush, which is, first of all, astounding that they were able to part with a key defensive player that made that defense so good. But now it looks like the Bengals are in a rebuild mode still this season, and the Seahawks are trying to get some sort of pass rush going in that defense. And it's not the only major trade that's happened this week. I mean, you have Baltimore again trading for Yannick Ngakoue. You got the Lions trading for Everson Griffin, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop this week. There have been a bunch of reports on Twitter flying around from Rappaport, from Schefter, from Breer, from Josina Anderson. Even shout out to Josina Anderson, you're doing awesome, Mama. And and there are teams that are trying to secure their future. The bad teams, like I said, are trying to secure their future by sending out their stars for picks, while the big teams are retooling to try to make a deep playoff run. So, guys, I kind of want to go around the horn here, and I want to ask you guys, which major name superstar are you expecting to get traded this week? And I want to start off with Avery on that one, because the Falcons have been in a bunch of trade talk, especially when it came to Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, but then it was later confirmed neither one of them is up for grabs. So who's the next big name to get traded before the deadline?
Next big name, I'm not sure. I'm gonna stay with my team real quick. I don't understand why people thought Matt Ryan and Julio Jones were going to go anywhere. Matt Ryan is too much of a cap hit for any team that's going to take on a quarterback, and he's 35 years old. It's not like he's 25 years old. So and he knows the system of Atlanta. He's around. I think he's going to retire a Falcon unless another quarterback comes in and gets rid of him. And then again, if that's the case, it's like, what team is going to pick up that contract? So it's going to be tough. for him to get moved. Same thing with Julio. Not to say that his contract is an issue, but Julio is Mr. Atlanta. Like, let's not play around. He's not going anywhere. The guy he's definitely going to retire a Falcon unless he decides that he wants to play until he's 42, and then we'll see a Jerry Rice situation. But, there's talks about Tat McKinley. He's not playing tonight, right? He's not playing because of the fact that he might get
groin injury.
It's not due to injury, though. That's not the reason that he's not playing. It's due to the fact that they want to potentially trade him. Otherwise, he would have been activated this week to play on Thursday, but they're holding him out because he might be a potential trade piece. So I think he can be on the trading block. But as far as, like I said, big names, I'm not too sure who I could see moving right now. There's a couple guys that I would like to see move. Like, I would like to see somebody like J.J. Watt get out of Houston. I would like to see that happen. I know he's Mr. Houston, but I would like him to get out of there.
The Texans confirmed that, like, Watson, Laremy Tunsil, J.J. Watt, and Titus Howard are untouchable. Everyone else is fair game on that team.
I was going to say I would also like to see Deshaun Watson get out of Houston, because now we're hearing that the Packers are interested in Will Fuller. And if they're going to trade away one of his, if not his biggest target, after getting rid of his actual biggest target, it's just sick in what they're going to do to him as far as weapons and different things like that. So I would love to see Deshaun Watson get out of Houston, because they're not using him well. And I don't like seeing what they're doing with him as far as his career. So
you can't send him out, though. It's too big of a contract. No team's going to want to put up with it, even if for a guy like Watson. No, there is no team that's going to be able to take that.
There's definitely some teams. Okay, so a team like Jacksonville, who may not be sold on Gardner Minshew, a team like the Colts, who don't really have anybody beside after Phillip Rivers other than Jacoby Brissett, who again is also older and he's not Deshaun Watson. A team like, let's say, the Packers, if they're not really sold on Jordan Love, these are teams that really can go ahead and pick up a Deshaun Watson.
With a $128 million contract to go with it, it's just too rich of a contract for any team to take, I would think. And with that being said, I'm going to throw it down to the Patriots fan below me, which is Darius. It was a major report came out, Darius, actually, that it was broken by Albert Breer that the Patriots are on a fire sale. Almost everyone is available. And that is a sign of two things. One, they do not want to pay Stephon Gilmore any more money than he's already due, because he's already underpaid as a corner despite being 30 years old. And second, Bill Belichick looks like he's giving up on the season. It's seemingly. But as a Patriots fan, who do you think should be sent out from the Patriots?
As sad as it is, I definitely could see Stephon Gilmore being traded. I think the biggest question is what can the Patriots get back from him, right? Like, what team? I don't think a team is really going to give a first round draft pick for him just because of his contract. He signed a $5 million, he got a $5 million raise, making him, I think he's now making about 15 a year. So if a team is willing to give a first round pick for that contract, then yes. But Stephon Gilmore, obviously, it was reports that I saw that his house is on the market. So when you put that, and you add on that he's been rumors, it's just a matter of when he's leaving. And then you look at his play this season, he's not the same Stephon Gilmore he was last year. You know, he's not the same defensive player of the year that he is. And I feel like you said, Belichick at this point, he knows, like, okay, we're at a rebuilding stage. We're missing a lot of pieces. Let's try to build through the draft. We're not a team that really is going to build through free agency. So the best possible way we can really help rebuild this organization to get it back to its winning ways is to build through the draft. And how do you do that? You get rid of some of your, big name players. And Belichick is not afraid to do this. He did it with Richard Seymour. He did it with Asante Samuel. He let these players go. They either Chandler Jones he traded, so he's willing to let go. He's the king of, all right, you know what, next man up. So I can definitely see Stephon Gilmore being one of the players that definitely gets traded before the deadline.
How funny is it that Gilmore came into the Patriots via trade from Buffalo? Now he might get sent out via trade out of New England. Avery, really quick comment?
Really quick on that. I would love to see a trade between Atlanta and the Patriots for Stephon Gilmore. And obviously we have three Pro Bowl safeties that we're not going to be able to keep. You got DeMonte Casey, Ricardo Allen, and Keanu Neal. So I think the Patriots might be able to take somebody like DeMonte Casey, who's a young, up-and-coming player in this league, get like maybe him in a third round for Stephon, That might be
make it a second, and we gotta make it a second round pick. We ain't
All right, guys, you are not the
We're
GM
not
of
doing
either
the third,
team.
bro.
So with that being said, I'm throwing over to Darren because your team, Darren, has not been a seller. They've been buyers, and they've been buying pretty well over the offseason. But we're not going to focus on the Baltimore Ravens here. I want you to take a team who's buying right now, and tell me who is in the cards for them. So get a team that you see as a buyer and tell me who they're trading for.
Okay, so I got two actually for you, and this is one. One is one that was already mentioned with Avery.
Yep.
Will Fuller to possibly the Packers. That would be very, very good, and you gotta understand how good it would be to give a deep threat like Will Fuller to a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and then you pair him with a Devontae Adams who's taking everything. Oh my God, that's just ridiculous to think about. That makes that team so much more scary when they're fully healthy. But my second one, and this one is a little bit more out there, still includes the Packers, but they go ahead and they trade for a guy like Amari Cooper or something. A team, and just hear me out though. The Cowboys, they need to offload some of that cap. They do not have enough. And with the way that CD Lamb is producing, if they feel confident in CD Lamb and possibly Michael Gallup going forward, because Michael Gallup is a very good second receiver. And if CD Lamb can continue to produce like he is and continue to evolve, by next year he can be looking like what Amari Cooper is, but better.
Lamb has been much more of a slot receiver, though, down in the Dallas system. Granted, Cooper has been taking most of the outside snaps, but it does make sense that he could be on his way out, even after signing a 5-year deal, and this is the first year of it. But
that's why I say it's the more out there trade, but it still has a possibility because they need the cap space. I think they will get rid of DeMarcus Lawrence first, if anything.
I'll throw this one out here just to kind of like give my own take on it. I'd say that it involves the Jets, and you're in a rebuild now mode. You have to go on a fire sale for everyone, and this is a time where it's certain that Sam Darnold is not going to work out here. Like you need to change for Trevor, and the first thing you do is trade off major pieces. One of them being linebacker Avery Williamson, and the Eagles could be a major landing spot for Williamson to go down there. They are in desperate need of linebacker help down there, and desperate need of wake up in defense. Avery being 28 and having a minimal cap hit for the Eagles could serve as a great leader for that unit and take them into a better spot out of the NFC basement, even though the NFC East basement is pretty much a dumpster fire at this point. Avery, I know you said you have to go soon. Do you want to give your game of the week and hot take before that?
I will, and I'll throw in there the Eagles could also use somebody from the Jets, like a Quinnen Williams, since the fact that the Jets aren't doing anything this year.
Williams is untouchable.
I know he's untouchable. I'm just saying the Eagles could use somebody like him. But anyway, so for my game of the week, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? It's going to be Steelers and Ravens, right? That's always a great game to watch. It might be the best rivalry in all of football. I mean, I guess the next closest is probably Packers Bears. But I think Ravens and Steelers, that's the game of the week. I don't care if they were both 0-5. Like that division game is going to be spicy. Like every single time it is. They're 23-23 against each other. It's like that's sick, right? Like that. Like I mean, these two teams really just like to go at it. And so I'm looking forward to that. But my hot take is. Yeah, okay. My hot take is that the Steelers are going to win by double digits, and Lamar will not throw for a touchdown.
Avery, hop off before Darren gets a response. No,
that being said, I gotta go. See y'all.
You never thought there'd be a short take drop and ditch on this show, but it just happened. So, Darren, I know Avery can't be here to take your answer, but do you even want to provide one?
So I'm gonna
give your game and hot take.
All right. So First off, I got a couple games I want to look at. We all know what my game of the week is. It don't even matter how you try to spin it or put it. It's going to be Pittsburgh and Baltimore. But you got to understand, Atlanta and Carolina tonight is going to be fun. I cannot wait to watch that. I'm not going to lie. Carolina is a great offense when it wants to get going, especially of lately. Teddy Bridgewater had the least amount of offensive snaps, and he still scored 27 points, I believe it was. Like, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. But I also want to see Tua, and that's one of my mini hot takes. Tua gets his first one. He throws 2 touchdowns, but he throws 2 picks.
Okay. You know what? I like that. I like that.
He's still going against Jalen Ramsey in that defense with Aaron Donald. So he's going to have his mistakes. But I feel like Tua is going to be pretty good, man. I like him. I gotta like him. But
you know what? I like that. And I'm certifying that as spicy fresh, man, because that is a good take. Look, Tua is a hot prospect coming out from Miami, especially after that hip injury that he suffered. But, Brian Flores is confident enough to start him against this top-tier Rams defense, and that mobility, plus the fact that he's a left-handed quarterback, makes him so weird to play against as a defense. So I like that take there, and I know Darius doesn't agree with it, it seems.
It's because my hot take is from that game as well. But I'm going to go with my games that I'm watching. Obviously, the Pittsburgh versus Baltimore, that is like one of the funnest rivalries to ever, like one of the best rivalries out there. But yeah, man, that Tua game, I'm definitely looking at that Miami and the Rams game just because Tua's going up against Aaron Donald, right? Like he's going up against one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL right now. And my hot take from this game is Tua struggles the entire game and Brian Flores pulls him out and puts Fitzmagic back in the game. And he leads the Dolphins to a comeback to beat the Rams. So Tua is not going to finish the game. He's going to struggle.
I agree with that.
He's going to struggle game.
No, look.
To struggle.
I appreciate what you're trying to say here, man. And I know where it's coming from. But like your coach is clearly showing in that GIF, you're out of your mind. That's not
oh my God.
Aaron, educate this man.
So first off, sir, Tua does not lose like that. Go back to Alabama, people. He wins, and he knows how to win big. This might be the NFL, but that man is going to put up and he's going to do well. I'm telling you, and that's why I said he's going to have 2 interceptions for sure. One off of pressure and one just because of the coverage. But he knows how to play.
Okay, but here's the question, though. And you guys seem divided by this, but I have to do it. Is Miami winning this game?
No.
Yes.
I think.
Okay. Just making sure.
You think Miami's winning against a LA team that's getting hot?
Upset alert.
Yes.
Upset alert.
Miami's
baby.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Baby.
My butt hurts. Oh my God. All right. You know what? I like that. And I like Darren's take because I do believe in Tua Tagovailoa. I think this is a redemption story that needs a comeback, a breakout game, and the stage is set for Tua here against a primed of NFC West team in the LA Rams. Darius, I'm sorry, man. I just don't see it, man. Like I get it. But like, what good is watching football if there's no optimism to hang your hat on? And with that being said, I'm giving my take for my game of the week. And, as I do every week, I always pick the Thursday night football game as my game of the week because it lets me do this. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers for tonight's game, and I'll break down why. Look, the Falcons are on the offensive side of the ball are nearly basically a juggernaut. Matt Ryan, first in the NFL in passing yards, tied 13th with touchdowns with 12, and has only thrown 3 interceptions this season. Yes, he's been sacked 15 times, which is 8th most in the league, but he's been able to complete 66% of his passes. That is as good as you can play quarterback in the NFL. You can't get any better outside of Dak Prescott, who was basically carrying the Dallas Cowboys before he got injured. All right, Todd Gurley, he's rejuvenated. All right, that the true like he might not be 100% back, but he's getting there. All right, like honestly, he's sixth in total rushing yards with 485. He has 7 touchdowns on the year, one that he shouldn't have scored given against the Detroit Lions last week, and that was basically sad. But he's still leading. He's tied for first. And he's averaging 4 yards per attempt. Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones are a top receiving tier. All right. Ridley is currently with 615 yards. Julio, despite missing 3 games, already has 447, which is top 20 in the league. And combined, they have about 7 touchdowns, which is still pretty good offensive production coming out for Atlanta. But the defense is the main issue down there. They're 32nd in total defense, 31st against the pass, allowing 333 yards per game. That's more than Matt Ryan throws per game, which is 296. But surprisingly enough, their defense against the run is ranked 6th. They've only allowed 92 rushing yards per game. On the other hand, though, when it comes to points, they've allowed 30 points per game. So just as bad, if not worse, than the New York Jets. Over on Carolina's side, Teddy Bridgewater, when he finally has come back as a player, he showed flashes in Minnesota. He got hurt. He was sent to he signed with New York to try to get some attention. Got traded to New Orleans. Had a 5-game stretch where he looked pretty well. And Matt Rule and that Carolina offense has started Teddy Bridgewater awakening. He's 5th in the NFL in passing yards. He has an 8-5 touchdown to interception ratio. Right now, he has Carolina at 3-4 in terms of a record, but he's led them to wins, not just as a passer, but as a runner too. Yes, Christian McCaffrey is not playing, and it is a shame because he was basically the offense last year. But Mike Davis has done a pretty decent job filling in for McCaffrey. Not deep, but not good enough. Only 442 total yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns, but he keeps the ball and the chains moving when he has to. And do I even have to mention Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, who are by far the top wide receiver duo in the NFL combined? They have 1,117 total receiving yards, with Anderson topping 600 this year and Moore having 500. The only wide receiver duo to have 500 plus yards right now in the NFL, and they combined for 4 touchdowns. As for the defense, defense is not exactly there for Carolina. They're 13th ranked overall. They're 10th against the pass, 17th against the run. They have a turnover differential of only +2. But Jeremy Chin, who we just mentioned, won Defensive Player of the Month, has been an emerging star for that defense. He knows how to make. He knows he's a hell of a tackler, and he has an interception on the season for a rookie linebacker. That's still pretty amazing. But guys, I picked Carolina because I think Matt Rule is the better coach out of the interim head coach that Atlanta has, whose name escapes me. Coach Moore, I think his name is. Yeah,
Raheem Moore.
Yeah, Raheem Moore, and and Rule has done a good job utilizing the weapons that he has. He has revitalized the passing attack that has been missing in Carolina during the Cam Newton days, and it's for me, it's an interesting shootout that's going to be happening. I'm predicting a shootout between Teddy Bridgewater and Matt Ryan. These are offenses that are great during the pass, and I'm seeing a high scoring number. I'm predicting at least 31-28.
I'll take that. You know how many people I got playing tonight, man? Listen, I Todd Gurley on one team, DJ Moore on another. Whew. Hayden Hurst up in there. You gotta sprinkle him in. He's a touchdown guy, man.
I have to hit my hot take. My hot takes. I have 2 of them. First one for this game, I'd say that both Teddy Bridgewater and Matt Ryan go for 350 yards in the air apiece, and that each one of them registers at least 3 touchdowns passing apiece, with Teddy Bridgewater having 1 rushing touchdown. As for my hot take, just in general, I'm going to be calling a major trade, and it's going to be and I'm calling that the New England Patriots are going to trade for Will Fuller. They're trading for Will Fuller, and they're sending out a 2nd-round pick for this year and a 3rd-round pick for next year. Yep.
I like it. Actually, I
No.
love it. We need a receiver. They need a receiver.
As much as I know you appreciate the Packers needing a receiver, Darren, like Bill Belichick needs it more. There's no good receiver on that team, and Wolf Fuller can provide an actual target. Exactly. But you know what? Give me the rebuttal, Darren. I want to hear it.
So first off, I do not see him trading for no receivers. I see him, as Darren said earlier, through the draft. That's how it's
traded a
going
second for Mohamed Sanu last year. Do you think trading for a receiver?
That's the reason it's not happening.
He'll do it again. He'll do it again.
Unlike Sanu, Fuller is an actual wide receiver one. Sanu was young. And he's younger than Sanu. Yeah.
Y'all feel as though wait. Y'all feel as though Will Fuller could be a wide receiver one?
No. I knew. Wait, what?
Okay.
In New England, absolutely. Who do we have?
You know what? This is what I want to do. I want to get my last little hot take out there real quick because I got something a little spicy for my man Juan, my man Avery, my man Darius. Lamar Jackson has struggled against the Steelers all his career.
Oh, boy, here we go.
And listen, that's ending tonight. 350 passing, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
There's no way.
Ain't
no way he goes up for 200 yards. No. There's no way.
350. Marquise Brown Andrews goes over 100.
I'm giving it to Darius. I'll contribute. Darius.
What it is.
Would you say one?
Darius, give me a response because I'm loaded right now. Go first.
First, that's not happening. Yeah, Lamar Jackson not going over 350 against that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It's not happening. Number 2,
bro, the back end is suspect.
The New England Patriots need a wide receiver. Belichick, if you're somehow watching this or you get this, trade for a receiver who is young, who is fast. Do it. If you got to trade Gilmore, trade him. If you got to trade a second round, third round, fourth round pick, trade it. If the Patriots want to win games, they need a wide receiver that can get open. They don't just need a wide receiver. They need someone who can get open because it was embarrassing watching San Fran demolish that team and those receivers not get open. Like they were not. Julian Edelman hurt. Like N'Keal Harry, we don't know what's going on with them. Like trade for a young receiver who can get open. That's all I'm going to say on that. If it's Will Fuller, he Will Fuller.
And now I'll say my piece about the Ravens. There's no way Lamar Jackson is passing against that top-ranked Steelers defense, man. There's no way. There is no way. Because guess what? Lamar Jackson's still not a refined passer. He still relies on the run too much. He escapes the pocket all the time. He doesn't set. He doesn't trust. And if you can't trust while you're setting your feet in the pocket, you're not going to get a good throw out. All right. Lamar is a top 10 quarterback in this league. He has a good arm. He's accurate. But he is not at the level where he can defeat elite defenses with his arm. All right. Because when you have a front seven that can shut down the run pretty easily and a pick-hungry secondary that the Steelers employ, you're not going to get much done. And I really don't see Lamar passing for 350 yards, no less. I'm just under 200.
He's going to go for a 187 and 2 interceptions, and he's going to have a fumble loss. I
will say this. The Ravens will win. The Ravens will win despite Lamar Jackson.
Defense going to carry them again, huh?
Yeah, defense going to carry them.
He's going to carry them again is what I'm saying.
Ngakoue, as y'all trying to say, Ngakoue is there for a reason, I guess, right?
Ngakoue might be there for a reason, but so is that Steelers offensive line, which has protected Big Ben pretty well. And, you know, with the emergence of Big Ben, it's going to be a game, and the Ravens will pull out, but just barely. And with that being said, guys, we're wrapping it up today here at the Air Dot Podcast. Guys, thank you so much for coming in and tuning in. For you guys, you know, like this podcast isn't just available for stream, it's available for all kinds of intake, whether it's in podcast form and a digital form. In video, you can catch it on YouTube. Just type in Inside the Hashes in the YouTube search bar, and you'll find us there along with our other podcasts. You can also find it on our website, InsideTheHashes.com. And for the audio podcasts, for our player interviews, for all the things that you'd like to hear while you're strolling around, you can check us out on Spotify, on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to good talk to good podcasting, Inside the Hashes is there. And you can also follow us on our social media. On Facebook, we are Inside the Hashes. On Twitter, we are at Inside Hashes. On Instagram, we are at Inside the Hashes. And also join our Discord, guys. Look, we want to hear you. I know you want to hear us. We want to argue whether it's high school football, whether it's college football, the Canadian Football League, even fantasy football, or even the NFL. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. We want to argue with you. Come on, bring it on. We want to hear from you. And also, guys, check out our latest post on our Instagram for our jersey giveaway contest happening for the holidays. Go check it out. The rules are in the description below. For Avery Collins, who's out doing his thing, for Darren Braxton, for Darius Riddick, for Jerome Jones, and for myself. And also a quick shout out to Christopher Thomas and his Run It Back podcast. We love you, Chris. Hope to see you soon. My name is Juan Pablo Gordon Camargo. This was the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. See you next time.